Hey guys, what's up? It's Danny, and today I am making a video with, bro, just introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Cameron. I also make YouTube videos here at the University of Florida.
As a lot of you guys know, I did my undergrad at the University of Miami. I'm obviously repping the U, but now I go to the University of Florida. I'm here doing a pre-med post-bac so I could get into medical school.
And I'm a senior finance major. I'm actually graduating here tomorrow. I've been here for 4 years. Definitely had a great time, and yeah, want to show the UF is a little bit better than UM.
Obviously, a lot of my older content was about UM. I did go there for 4 years, and I am a true Cane at heart. But now that I go to UF, a lot of people ask me, Danny, where should I go? Should I go to UM or should I go to UF? If you guys ask me that question, obviously I am biased. So for me, it has to be UM, but that's why I wanted to invite Cameron so he could give us his experience here at UF, and we can compare both schools and see what would be a better fit for you.
So obviously I think UF is a lot better.
And I think that UM is better, but what we can agree on is that they're both good schools, right?
Of course.
Like really, UM and UF have always been really comparable. They're good academic schools. They're just a little bit different, but something else we can agree on is, what is it?
Don't go to FSU.
Nope. Either go to UF or UM. Together, we're gonna be comparing different college categories about UM and UF. I'm gonna share my experiences about UM, what I like, what I didn't like. Cameron is gonna be doing the same thing about UF. All right, Cameron, bro, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. So the first thing we're gonna be getting into is the campus. So Cameron, you've been here for 4 years, you're about to graduate. Tell me your experience with the campus. What's up with it?
Yeah, so UF has a pretty large campus. It's spread out. Each school kind of has its own designated area. I definitely have stayed more to the business school as a finance major. I know the medical complex is more south of Gainesville, but a huge campus definitely could take you hours to walk around.
It's true.
But with that, it still allows you to feel like you have your own community based off of where your school is, what your program is, and really where you decide to live.
Obviously, compared to UF, UM is a lot smaller, but I will say that like the campus is like, it's really nice. Like, I don't know, like when you're there, have you ever been to the campus at UM or no?
I did do a
You did a tour. Okay, so he knows a little bit about it. I don't know, it doesn't feel like you go to school, but at the same time, it's just like nice to be around. Like you have like the palm trees, you have like a huge outdoor pool. So it is really small, and you definitely like bump into like a lot of people that you know just because, like I said, it is small, but it doesn't take you like hours or anything to figure out. Like I'm pretty sure like within a week of being at UM, like I was able to figure out where like everything was. I know like UF is like huge. Like how long would you say it took you to like get around like everything?
Yeah, it definitely took me a while. I feel like even still, I go to parts of campus that I've never seen before. So that's how big UF is. And you mentioned running into people you knew at the UM campus.
Yeah.
Although UF is huge, I still see my friends, see my peers every single day that I know. It's always great to run into friends from class, my fraternity. Although it is such a big campus, it does feel like a smaller community just because of how interconnected everybody is.
You mentioned how like at UF it's like kind of divided, I guess, or at least it has like its different like niches. Like you were mentioning like how like there's a medical complex, like a business complex. I would say at UM it's also kind of like that, but it's just like a smaller scale. It's like you have like the law school, and then like you walk like I think probably 2 minutes, and it's like you're in the music school.
Okay.
You walk like 2 minutes from that, and you're in the dorms. So you also do kind of have like that division, but it's just like not as big because obviously it's just a smaller, more compact campus. The second thing we're gonna talk about is class size. So obviously UM is a much smaller school. I'm gonna put the numbers for like undergrad population like down here, but I think UM's like, I think maybe 10, 12,000. I think UF is what, like...
I just looked it up. 35 grand undergrad, I think 53 total between all the post-grad programs.
So I'm not good at math, but that's like probably what, like 4 times the population, right?
Just a bit, yeah.
Obviously, like in every college, at least compared to high school, like the class sizes are like just much larger. I know that like at UM, at least like the basic introductory courses, like the 100 level classes, like if you're taking Bio 1, Chem 1, you can have like about like 100, 200 people. It really depends on your major in the class. But then as you like, get like higher up in the classes, obviously like class size really decreases. But again, it just really depends on your major, what you're studying. At UF though, like as a business major, just like in general, like how has it been with class sizes? Like are there like a bunch of people just because it's a bigger school, or is it like?
I'd say it's a very similar situation
Okay.
as far as my early years in the business school, taking the basic classes, microeconomics, financial accounting, things like that. You could easily have 300, 400 students in class. Most of these classes are offered in a hybrid format, so you could either go in person if you wanted to, brave the crowds, or watch online. But kind of similar to what you said, as you grow older and you're up in the upper electives for your majors, the class size gets a lot smaller. So this year for my upper level finance classes, I would say there's about 25 people in each class, which is pretty similar to high school. You feel like it's a more traditional classroom setting, but we definitely start off in a much bigger, lecture hall with hundreds of other students.
Yeah, and I'm guessing just because obviously UF's a bigger school, the lecture halls might be bigger here too. Yeah. I think. I mean, I've never been into a massive UF lecture hall, but like, have you ever been in a situation where like you get to a class and like there just isn't a seat? Have you like?
I did. I think the first day of Calc 2, I had to go down to, it was a lecture hall in a basement.
Oh, wow.
And of course I showed up, it's hot, everybody's in there, and the desks on the seats were about a square foot. And I think I had to walk all the way to the front of the class to find a seat. It was not the best experience.
Yeah, I mean, so at UM, my major was really small itself, so I only took a couple of classes where it was like a big lecture hall. But definitely, like if you get to class like 5 minutes late, like you're definitely going to be struggling a little bit.
Definitely.
The next thing we're going to talk about are academic resources. So Cameron, tell me your experience with that here at UF.
Yeah, obviously, like I said before, with a much larger campus, population size, it allows them to hire more staff to help out. So within the business school, there's a lot of advisors that help you figure out your schedule. As far as tutoring services, there's a lot both on campus and off campus. I know like Study Edge, which is right outside the window right now, is a huge help for all students regardless of major. So it's really, the resources are there. It's just more so a matter of you actually going out and looking for them. I can't tell you how many times, like, if you read the syllabus for your classes, at the end it always shows all the different campus resources, whether it's counseling, academic help. They're there. It's just, students probably don't take advantage of them as much as they should.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of applies even to UM or just any school in general. Like a lot of schools, they do have resources. You just have to like look where they are, kind of find them, and just take advantage of them yourself. Like I don't think anybody is gonna go up to you constantly being like, oh, like I see you have like a C in math, like let me tutor you right now. It's more like you have to accept, oh, I'm not doing so well. I don't think I'm understanding the concepts. Like let me go and search for a tutor. But I do think that resources are there.
Yeah, and I would say that's one of the bigger differences just between high school and college. In high school, if you're struggling in the class, the teacher, is going to be more noticeable of that.
Exactly.
They're going to sit down, talk with you after class. But in college, it's definitely more your responsibility to take, your grades into your own hands. No one's really going to help you out necessarily.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's kind of just a big transition from high school to college, especially when you're still going to a larger university. Even UM could be considered large. I know, like, at much smaller schools, they definitely like to talk about the teacher to student ratio, where it might be a little bit more of that feel, but definitely you're going to have to take matters into your own hands with respect to the academic counseling and stuff like that.
I think at UM it's also pretty similar. Like, I know there's always tutoring available. Something that I used at UM, which I love, is that they have something called, like, a writing center. So they have people like help you make resumes, they help you with essays, and that for me came in really clutch. So that's like a really specific example, but I really enjoyed having that. They also have, it's like a career center.
Okay.
So it's like a building where you go and they help you like with career stuff, they help you with interviews, but they do have like a lot of resources too. Like when I went to UM, I never felt like I kind of was like helpless with anything, even like with mental health and stuff like that. Like they have people there. So they do have a lot of resources. Like Cameron was saying, it's the same thing. UF, any college you go to, a lot of them, they are going to have these resources, but it's your responsibility to kind of like look out for them and actually take advantage of them. The next thing we're going to talk about is social life. So Cameron, obviously you're a social guy because you're in a frat. So just tell me about the social life at UF. Is it easy to make friends? How do you make friends? Just tell me like about the social vibe here.
Yeah, so like I said, I came into UF my freshman year. And so freshman year, everybody's in a new place. Everybody's willing to make friends. Most people are in dorms, so not too many people know other people. So everyone's very friendly.
Were you in a dorm?
I wasn't in a dorm.
Would you say being in the dorm helped you like meet people, right?
I'd say it helped me. There's definitely dorms that are more social than others. Definitely do your research. I'd say Broward and Jennings are definitely considered the more social dorms. I was in Murphy, which wasn't as social. But when you first start off on campus, everyone's kind of willing to make friends. A lot of those social boundaries are dropped. But with that said, Greek life is huge at UF. I think as a guy, especially if you're not in a fraternity, it can be pretty tough.
Really?
With tailgates and game days, which we'll talk about later, all girls go to the fraternity tailgates before the games. Football is huge at UF, so if you're a guy, you can't really just go into any other fraternity. So that kind of limits you.
What if we're like friends? Like right now, after this video, if there's a tailgate going on, would you hook it up or like would you not be allowed to? Like be straight up.
Yeah, so that if you have friends in fraternities, they can definitely help you out.
Okay.
So if you were to try to come to a tailgate, I could definitely hook it up.
All right.
But it just really makes a big difference. A lot of the bars here on campus, the bouncers are in fraternities, so kind of just all the connections you have through that is extremely helpful. So I know at other campuses, Greek life might not be as involved, might not be as important. But here at UF, it's definitely a very traditional SEC school. Greek life matters, ranks matter, and so that's definitely something to navigate and to consider. But I think when you go and you start off at UF, everybody's very friendly.
Okay.
If you're putting yourself out there, you'll definitely make friends. It's really, like we said before, you just kind of have to take that first step.
Yeah, like if you want to be social, like there's people to be social with. There's like, what you say the number, 30,000, 40,000. You can be social. You just got to be social.
Right. And it's not like you have to join Greek life. And if you're not in Greek life, your life is terrible. You definitely can still have a lot of fun. There's so many things to do in Gainesville socially. I just understand that a lot of colleges vary in the importance of their Greek life with respect to social outings. So here at UF, it's definitely a big part of campus life, both in nightlife and then also kind of just student life on campus. Student government is pretty big, things like that.
So I'll be honest, at I wasn't in a frat, and I really never considered Greek life. But like over there, like at Greek life is like not that big of a thing. Right. I mean, it is like present on campus. They do tailgates for football games. Like they have parties, so it is like a thing. Like it's not like, oh, where's the Greek life? Like where's the Greek life at? You're definitely gonna like see the Greek life and hear about it. But like you don't have to be in it to like go out, be social. Like there's a lot of people that are social. They go out, they go clubbing, they do everything, and they're not in Greek life. So it is kind of like smaller, right? And it's like not that important. Like you could be in it, join it, make a lot out of it, but it's like if you're not in it, it's not a big deal. And like what I've kind of seen is that like a lot of people, they'll be in it and like sophomore and junior year, they'll be like really involved, going to like all the parties and stuff, but once they hit like that 21, they kind of like become less involved, they become less social with it. Again, it really depends, but like from what you're telling me, I think Greek life is definitely much of a bigger deal here at UF compared to at least from what I'm hearing, because you know, like I said, at it's really small. I think it's only like maybe like 15-20% of the population, probably 15, is in Greek life, and just like the numbers are a lot smaller. Not every frat has a house. Sororities don't have houses at which I know here at right? Like you could say
sorority houses here at are insane. They're probably the nicest places in Gainesville. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I understand 15 to 20% of is pretty major. I think at UF it's probably 5%, but when you consider it,
consider the numbers,
it's a much larger pie. It's probably a lot more students. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I myself am still involved in my fraternity as a senior. I've just really gotten a lot of it. It's not all about the social life. It's also about kind of the professional
you make connections, professional and stuff. Yeah.
But as I said before, UF is definitely a traditional SEC school. So the fraternities on campus, sororities, have been around on campus for over 100 years a lot of the time. So it's more so that kind of just tradition. So the alumni networks, people who graduated from UF 80 years ago are, donating, and so it's a much more traditional experience with respect to all of that.
Yeah, like even the frat houses at like they're not real like frat houses, like they're not the traditional frat houses. And like I said, it's just like it's there, you'll see it, but if you're not in a frat, like you can literally not be in a frat and be more social, more outgoing, have more connections than someone in a frat. If you get what I'm saying. So like I said, it's not like the end of the world at all. I don't think it's as big as you have. So if you're really into like Greek life, if it's your thing, if you want to be in a frat, what's that thing called from Netflix? If you want to live a Blue Mountain State life, I definitely think from what you're telling me, UF has more of that Greek life environment, whereas has it, but it's just like not that big compared to UF. And like you were saying with the tailgates and stuff at it's also kind of similar. They do have football tailgates and stuff like that. I went to like a couple of them because I had friends in the frats, so they definitely hooked it up. But like if you're just like a random guy, they try to like be more cautious with it because you know there's a lot of things that could like go wrong, and frats, you know, they get into all these problems and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like if I'm not at a tailgate for a football game, like there's so many other things too that you can do that like don't involve tailgating or going to the football game. So I think that's where like there's also a big difference. Like UF is very college oriented, like it's very, very, you know, college town. You mentioned SEC, whereas UM is a little bit less on that, less Greek life, and just I guess more city vibes. I mean I don't know how to say it, but I guess.
Yeah, I say that makes a lot of sense. If you think Miami without the University of Miami would still survive. It would still be a great place.
Okay, that's a good
with
way
a
to
lot
put it.
going on.
Yeah.
But Gainesville without the University of Florida would just be some random town in north central Florida. So the college definitely runs Gainesville. It definitely, like you said, you get that traditional college feeling. You know that you grew up watching movies about what college would be like. That's what you feel here in Gainesville. And you mentioned football. I think if you weren't going to a football game or if you weren't going to tailgate, you wouldn't be able to do much at all here in Gainesville. When it's a game day Saturday, everything shuts down. University Ave right outside is closed off. It's crazy busy. It definitely just takes over the town. So it's a huge part of campus. I wasn't a huge football fan in high school. I definitely developed into it here at UF, and now I think pretty much all students who've been here over the years have turned into diehard Gator fans.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like at UM, like historically, like we are better than UF, just like we have like 5 national championships. You know, like we have the 30 for 30. That might be the only thing we have going for us, like to be honest. But like we do have a good football program, I guess, but people aren't that like into it. Like unless we're playing FSU or like when we play like Notre Dame like every now and then, like a lot of people don't focus on going to the games. The stadium is like 40 minutes away, and you do have shuttles that take you there, and they're like nice shuttles. They're not like little, you know, yellow buses. Like these are nice shuttles, like with AC and everything. But it's just like, do I really want to, you know, tailgate, go crazy, then have to take a shuttle, go all the way to the game? It's really hot, really far, and then come back. It's just like a hassle. You get me? And like you're kind of saying, like there's just other things to do in Miami. Like you could like go to the beach. So like the game's at noon. It's like, you know, if you're playing a bad team or something, why do you want to go to a football game when you could like go to the beach, go out, get a nice little brunch? So there's just like different options, and like the mentality behind it is it's like a little bit different. Like over there in Miami, like there could be a UM football game going on, and you could be walking around the city, and like you wouldn't be able to tell there's a football game going on. Like they don't really close off any streets. There aren't any like large gatherings. Yeah, like some people might go to some restaurants and bars, but it's not like Gainesville where it's like very concentrated. You have a lot of people, right? Like I mean, total population of Gainesville plus UF, whatever, 60,000, 100,000 people concentrated into like this one area who all care about football. Whereas UM, you have Miami and UM, but UM is only 10,000 people, 12,000 people. Miami, it's, you know, I think UM is like such a small percentage of the Miami population. So when it comes to football, like it's just like not that big of a deal. And I think a lot of people like joke around. I don't know if you've heard about this, but like they make a joke that's like people that go to the UM games, the majority of them are FIU students. Which is, it's kind of true because, like I said, like UM games, unless it's unless it's FSU or Notre Dame or just like a big game, the stadium's not going to be as packed. The next thing we're going to talk about are expenses. So things like living here, going out, and just spending money in general. So Cameron, tell me your experience with that here at UF.
Gainesville obviously is a much lower cost of living city than Miami. That's to be expected. As far as rental prices, I currently live in my fraternity house, so I think it's about $550 a month.
Wait, say that again?
Yeah, $550 a month. I'm sure that's a little bit less than you're paying.
Really cheap.
But in the past, I lived in a luxury apartment just a few blocks from here, and I think I was paying $850 a month.
With roommates or without?
With roommates. So I was in a 4x4, so I had my own room. I had my own bedroom. It was definitely a nice place. One of the nicer places in Gainesville. I think that's kind of the average you'd be paying for a nice apartment right here in Midtown. And then freshman year, like I said, I lived in the dorms. But really, UF is very cheap. You go out, you might pay $5 for cover. Most nights, you might not even pay cover. Inside drinks are anywhere from $3 to $5, typically $6 at the popular bars. Maybe if you're going downtown to a nicer place, you're paying $8, but that's really pushing it. The cost of living is extremely cheap here. You can definitely get away with just bringing $20 out when you go out at night and having the time of your life. And I think you mentioned you had a great experience with that.
I did once. Yeah, first time I went out in Gainesville was social, so it's $5 all you can drink. But if you tip, they like hook it up with the drinks and stuff. And I was just so like shocked because at Miami you don't pay $5 for all you can drink. $5 doesn't get you anything. So me coming from UM thinking I was like hot shit, I took out a $20 bill and I gave it to the bartender. And she hooked me up with drinks throughout the whole night. And in my head, I'm like, I just spent $25 on drinks, which is not bad because in Miami, going out is really expensive. And I'll get into that. But it's not bad at all coming from Miami because like over there in Miami, it's like one drink is like $15, $25. So like you said, it is really cheap to go out here.
Right. And also you're a lot closer to the nightlife. So, I mean, we're looking at Social right now, which is the bar here just talking about. So you're not really paying for major Ubers.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if you're going downtown, it's maybe $5. So that also saves you a lot of money just because you only have to walk a few blocks to kind of the the nightlife hub of Gainesville compared to, paying for an Uber all across Miami.
So the first thing I'll get into with cost of living is obviously Miami is like really expensive. I'll be straight up. I lived at home with my parents because I'm from Miami. So I did have it pretty easy. But like people that like live in Miami, like they'll be paying like literally $2,000 for like, a one bedroom. And now you're talking about these like luxurious, one bedrooms, like you get the view of the skyline and everything. So it is a little bit crazy. I don't think I've heard about anybody paying $500 at all in Miami. Like literally, I've never heard that at all. So freshman year, I actually did live in the dorms just because I did want like that freshman experience of like living in the dorm. But then like after freshman year, everybody at UM kind of like goes off campus, at least a majority of people. I know now they have like new housing, so it might be a little bit different, but traditionally people go off campus and it's just expensive, like a lot more expensive than UF. So if you're trying to save money on like housing and stuff, definitely UF wins by like a huge margin. There's no competition there. Now in terms of going out, Miami is like, it's just one of the most like vibrant cities in America. I think we can all agree. But with that being said though, it does make it really, really expensive to go out compared to UF. Like I think, how can I put it this way? I think that like maybe one night of going out in Miami would last me like a whole month in Gainesville. Because in Miami, it's like you're paying $15, $25 for a drink. Shots are like $10, $12. If you want to go like to one of the bougier nightclubs, the cover is like, in the 60s. If it's like, a cheaper night, it might be like in the 30s. But it's definitely like a lot more expensive. But it's also like more of like, I guess like a nightlife vibe. Like over there, a lot of the clubs close at like 5 a.m., 8 a.m., you have a club called Club Space, and it's literally open like 24/7.
Wow.
So it's like you could go in on like a Friday night at like midnight, and you could stay there till like Sunday or like Saturday if you want to leave early. So it's a little bit more of like that nightlife, but it's less of the college nightlife.
Right.
Because like when you go out in Miami, it's like you see everything. Like you see people of all ages. You don't only see UM students. So I feel that here at UF, since like Gainesville is UF dominated, it's like when you go out, it definitely is a college vibe, right?
Yeah, so honestly, there's not a lot of clubs here at UF. It's definitely more of just a bar scene. Some of the bars might be busier where it's packed and it might feel like a club, but definitely just more so bars, not a ton of dancing and stuff like that. But like you mentioned, it's all college students, so it's really nice. Gainesville definitely has some bars that are for Gainesville natives, Gainesville locals. But really, us UF students don't ever go there. There's no real need for us to go there. We've got plenty of other options that are just right here for us. So I think that is a really big thing to consider. If you go out here in Gainesville, you're only going to be talking to college students. It's not really the same situation.
Yeah, no, like now, like when I started going out in Miami as a 21-year-old, it's like I literally felt like a baby going out because everybody is just like a lot older. Like you see people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Even my dad goes out and he's 60. So it is kind of like a different vibe. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. I would say it just really depends on what you like, what you don't like. But let me ask you this, and I'll say my favorite spot too in Miami. What's your favorite spot to go out here in UF? Like, if you had to recommend a spot to somebody watching this video, where should they go?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Salty Dog.
Okay.
It's just a little bit more casual than going to Fats. Fats is kind of the crazy bar that everybody loves going to and packs in. But Dog, you can definitely sit down, get a pitcher of beer, and be able to have a conversation with your friends. And that's definitely, when I'm going out, I want to be social, I want to talk to my friends. And so going to a bar where I'm actually able to talk and have a conversation is definitely a plus. So the Salty Dog, just right down the street here in Gainesville.
Now at my go-to spot, you guys might know this, is the Wharf. I love the Wharf. Literally happy hour on Fridays from 4 to 7, $1 beer, which is like the cheapest beer you can get in Miami. After 7 though, it gets a little bit crazier and stuff. Then by I would say midnight, 1 a.m., they have like the little nightclub area, but then you could go outside, so it's also really chill. And it's just like a big outdoor space. Have you ever heard of it or no?
I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah, so it's like a pretty well-known spot in Miami, and what I like is you can just make what you want out of it. Like, I've gone there and I've had really chill nights, kind of where it's like, you're saying you could be social, kind of relax, calm down, have a drink or two. But I've also had nights where I've just gone crazy, dance my ass off the entire night until like 3 a.m. Then I get an Uber, go to like another place. But that's another thing too in Miami you have to keep in mind, like with Ubers, like you just can't walk like from place to place. You do have to worry about Ubers, and they do add up. Like, let's say you spend like $25 on a drink. Keep in mind, you're also going to spend like $30, $20 on an Uber, so the Ubers, they do pile up. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the obvious, but we thought we should just mention it, and that is the cost of education. Obviously, is a private school, making it much more expensive than UF. I was really lucky with a lot of scholarships, so that's kind of how I got to go there, because if not, I just straight up wouldn't be able to pay like 60, 80K a year to go there. That's just a lot of money that I don't have. Even though it is expensive, they do have a bunch of different scholarships that you just have to like do your research on. So if you're like really considering but you just don't have the financial means, I would call the Office of Admissions or like financial aid and just kind of see their different scholarship options, because they do have a lot of scholarships. So it's like when you have your like financial aid from the government and then you have scholarships, it does add up, so it can help you out a lot on the long run.
So like you said, UF is definitely more affordable as it is a public school. I know also if you are from Florida Bright Futures is a huge help. So for myself, I actually go to UF on a full tuition scholarship, so that definitely made my cost of college a lot more affordable. And there are different tiers to Bright Futures, so it can be anywhere from 100% to 75% to 50%, and that's available at all schools, but a lot of people then vouch to go to UF. But even if you don't have that scholarship, you're not from Florida, it still is a very relatively affordable school. There's a lot of people who come to UF from out of state, the Northeast, simply because although UF is a better school, it's also a lot more affordable than some of the other state schools in the surrounding area. So Georgia, I think, is more expensive. That's kind of a similar vibe. So although UF is still expensive out of state, it is a lot more affordable than some of kind of our competitors in the area.
Yeah, I know like at like I used some of my Bright Futures money at and I know other people have, but it's obviously not going to cover like everything.
Right.
It might cover something like really small, like if you're living in the dorms, it could like cover that expense or just help you out with like a percentage, but it's not going to cover everything. But I've always been somebody that has said it really doesn't matter where you go for undergrad as long as you make the most out of it.
Right.
So if you have to like save money, at the end of the day, UF is still like a really, really good school. And even though I'm biased, I love I went to I would tell anybody to go there. I always say in my head, and I tell this to people too, I'm like, listen, UM's good. If you got accepted though, make sure that you can actually afford it, because nothing is worse than graduating with a huge debt. That is just terrible. So if you can't go to because it's not financially doable, definitely UF is like literally an amazing option. Like there's nothing bad about it. Like people like are dying to get into UF. Like it's an amazing school. They have good programs. So definitely keep that in mind. Now the last thing we're going to be comparing just really quick is kind of the difference between Miami and Gainesville as cities. So how would you say Gainesville is as a city? Like if somebody was like, all right, describe Gainesville, how would you describe Gainesville?
Yeah, so Gainesville, like I said before, is definitely a college town, but that doesn't mean there's not things to do outside of campus. There's plenty of areas in Gainesville that are very calm. We have a lot of nature preserves, things in, there's the springs, there's hiking paths, so much to do in nature. I honestly haven't taken advantage of it. I haven't taken advantage of it as much as I should have, but compared to Miami, I feel the vibes of Gainesville are a little bit more relaxed. You can venture outside of just this mile or two radius of the University of Florida and really find a lot of kind of calming, relaxing things to do. And then also it's just still kind of like a normal city. There's still like movie theaters, anything that you really want to do is still here in Gainesville. It's just a little bit more relaxed, and I think I've really enjoyed that. But like I said, definitely a college town. I know when I was deciding where I wanted to go to school, I wanted to go somewhere where I felt I was in a movie, and I've definitely gotten that experience. Being at UF, it's just that traditional college experience, and if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend UF.
So my experience with, being from Miami, going to UM, so I actually went to like a public school for my high school, and then I transitioned to like private school, UM, and it was just like a whole different vibe. Like, when you're older and you're living in the same city where you grew up, Miami, straight up, it's a crazy city. Like, there's no hiding. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, no. Guys, Miami's crazy. I will say that. It's wild. But it's also like really big, so you can be calm if you want to. Like, you have beaches where you could like wind down a little bit. You do have a little bit less nature though. I know here you have like the springs and stuff like that. In Miami, like the only nature we really have is just like the beach and a couple of like parks. But it's just more of like we said the word earlier. It's a cosmopolitan vibe.
There we go.
It's just like kind of like you think about like New York, LA. It's like that type of vibe. Now sometimes people they think, oh, UM is in Coral Gables. It's in its own little city, guys. Coral Gables is literally like in Miami. Like campus is, I would say like maybe a 10-15 minute Uber ride from like Brickell and downtown. So it's not like it's like in the suburbs or anything like people think. No, like UM is very in the city. Now me being from Miami, coming from this whole crazy nightlife, crazy world, I will say that people here at UF, and this is me, Miami boy.
Yeah.
People at UF are just like a lot nicer. I will admit. Like when I go to a bar, like I don't feel like as intimidated. I don't feel like I have to flex anything. I don't feel like my dad has to have a yacht to like be able to talk to people. So I do like that. Like even at Publix, everybody like when I go in at 7 a.m., they're like, good morning, good morning. So it is kind of I've heard it's like Southern hospitality, even though, would you consider this like the South or what's your opinion?
That's a classic debate of whether Florida really is the South. I'm from Naples, Florida, so Southwest Florida, kind of just right across Alligator Alley from Miami. And like you said, kind of Miami's always had that reputation for being a little bit more mean, aggressive.
Yeah. We're the outlier. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So I would say, like I said before, that traditional SEC experience, the SEC is just kind of, Florida, Bama, Georgia, those types of schools. So I would agree with you. The Southern hospitality is definitely more prevalent here in Gainesville than over on the east coast of Florida.
Yeah, I think what people say about Miami is that Miami is the only place in America where you can go south to reach north. Yeah. Because even though we're like literally the south of the country, Miami's not considered the South at all. Miami's a modern Latin America, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, it's a very big Hispanic population. So like if you're going to Miami, just know like you have to know at least like the basics of Spanish. Like you just can't go without knowing Spanish. You're gonna be like, lost with the Ubers. When you go to Publix, you're not gonna be like, you're gonna be lost with the cashiers. So that's definitely like a different thing, I think. And me coming from Miami, that's something that I do miss. I do miss like that Hispanic vibe, that Latin vibe. But that's also because I'm Cuban. So it is kind of like a little cultural thing.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But I think overall we can agree on that. Gainesville's just like straight up, it's a college town, right? And Miami is like, UM doesn't make Miami at all, whereas UF does make Gainesville. You could agree on that?
Definitely.
Yeah, so you're just comparing a college town to a big city. It really is up to you on what you want. Cameron, I think we pretty much talked about everything there was to talk about when you compare UM to UF. Is there like anything else you want to say?
Yeah, there's one last thing, Danny.
Oh.
Go Gators.
Nah, baby, it's all about the U. But guys, for real, UM and UF are two really, really good schools. They do have their differences, but they are similar in many ways. It just really depends what you want your college experience to be.
So like I said before, I'm graduating here tomorrow.
Congrats, by the way.
Looking back on my 4 years, I'm definitely so grateful that I came to UF. I definitely wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm so excited for what my future has in store, and I definitely wouldn't be in the situation I'm in today if it wasn't for UF.
Yeah, that's like same with me and UM. Like I loved being a UM student. Like I said, I'm a true Cane at heart. And even now that I go to UF, I'm still appreciating my experience here at UF. So it really is what you make out of it. Guys, make sure you check out Cameron's YouTube page. I'm gonna leave it down below in my description. But that is pretty much it from us. Anything else you want to say? No? We've said it all.
We said it all.
Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with my uploads. That is pretty much it from us. But always remember to stay hydrated.
Perfect.
All right, bro. That was good. That was good.